We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.
Welcome back to another episode of Not Another Nuts podcast with your hosts Ajay and Harp, brought to you by Loudmouth Brewing, the best burgers in the Fraser Valley, and with the best beer as well. Ajay, Game 7 didn't really work out the way we wanted it to, but what were your kind of thoughts on how things kind of transpired?
Yeah, it's been about 2 days, still not quite over it. If I'm being perfectly honest, I guess just kind of my early thoughts about that game, and every time I kind of think about it, like I know we weren't in the game. Yeah, like you can just look at the shot totals for both teams, and we were not in the game. But I think the thing that hurts the most is we were like 6 minutes away from potentially getting a lucky goal and moving on.
Yeah,
The fact that we were able to kind of like hang on, and Demko again played out of his mind
yeah.
to kind of keep us in the game, and yeah, just really disappointing.
Yeah, I would agree. Damco kept us in it. They were beating us. They were just dominating us in every aspect.
Yeah,
Hits, puck possession. I think on faceoffs, even we were not as great as we were in previous games. And then the shots on goal were the big thing, and just the possession time in each other's offensive zone. They were just killing us. And
yeah,
yeah, Damco stood on his head again. So how many saves did he have by the end of the night? Do you remember? Was it like
uh, it was
430
a
or something?
lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was a
But
lot.
and we only had 17 shots on goal in the entire game, right?
Yeah,
Um, but that being said, did you see quite a bit of difference between game 6 and 7 when it came to the energy levels?
I thought there was a big drop off
Yeah,
in the energy levels.
yeah,
Game six, granted, the shots totals were somewhat similar in terms of the Canucks being outshot at a almost 2-to-1 clip.
yeah,
I didn't think they were that out of the game. I thought they still had their chances. They had a few really good looks. Obviously,
yeah,
scored 4 goals. Well, three if you don't count the empty netter. But
yeah.
I thought Game six they definitely played well.
Mm,
I didn't really thought like I didn't think Vegas looked that dangerous.
yeah.
Um, even though they were putting on a lot of shots. But then, com- but like when you compare that to Game Seven, it was just a massive drop off. Like you could tell that these guys were just they just didn't have anything left in the tank. Playing it back to back. What did you think?
That's the same thing. I would absolutely agree. Just watching that game, um, I was so amped up, so excited to see them bring
Yeah,
it in game 7, and you just never saw them bring it. You just never saw them have any type of chemistry or enough puck possession time to generate any type of offense or any type of anything that'll get you kind of excited. And the big thing does come back down to the schedule. I think this is the fifth game in 7 nights, and they really literally had no energy left. You're seeing like, yeah, PD still looked really good. Hughes looked really good. Demko looked really good. People are fighting, but you could tell they're fighting the puck. They're fighting themselves. They can't even skate up the ice. Besser had that
yeah,
amazing chance, right? And then he just shot it right in the middle of the net when he had an opening
I know.
everywhere else. But it comes back down to the fatigue factor, because that's one thing I've heard a lot. When you are tired, especially very, very tired, what do? You just shoot it to the middle of the net, right?
Hmm.
And unfortunately, you don't take the time to think and try to shoot it somewhere
Yeah,
a little bit more open, right? You're trying to just quickly get the job done.
yeah.
Um,
No, like I would definitely agree. I think this was their so they played 17 games in the bubble, and they played all 17 in a span of, like, I think it was like 20, 23 days. It's like,
yeah,
okay, so that's a lot of hockey for these guys playing such high intensity games, and
yeah,
I just don't understand why they couldn't get the day rest, especially
yeah,
since there was still one more game seven being played in Toronto.
hmm,
So the fact that like you couldn't just get them to play on Saturday, it just made no sense, man. Like the fact that um, they scheduled it the way that they did,
yeah.
I think robbed the Canucks a chance of moving on to the next round.
I agree. And you know what? The Canucks had a legitimate chance to winning this.
Yeah.
Um, and the thing is, they were just so beaten down and broken.
Yeah.
They literally were fighting themselves. Even they weren't even fighting Vegas anymore. They were literally fighting themselves to even just skate up the ice. One
Yeah.
thing I
That's a
want
great
to say
point.
is in the last episode, we talked a lot about viewership and how a lot of the TV broadcasting rights, and they want to keep that slot open for the derby that was going to happen, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing: that game on Saturday against Philly and Islanders, right? It was the most watched game in the entire NHL since the playoffs started,
I
in
know.
terms of viewership and revenue. Like how annoying. Imagine a Canadian team, the Canucks, on a
Yeah.
Saturday night. How much more money would they have made? Like okay, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, right? But you are hearing a lot online that, oh, they did this on purpose to
Hmm.
make a Canadian team fall out. What were your kind of thoughts around that?
Yeah. No. Yeah. I did see the same thing where the ratings for that Saturday game got a lot of ratings. Both sides of the border as well.
Yeah,
But like it's just another boneheaded decision from the NHL. Why wouldn't you want a Canadian team on Saturday night, whether it's whether they're playing Saturday night or even like Saturday during the day, right? Like it's
yeah,
the weekend. A lot of people have time to watch it as opposed to a Friday night. Like what you had mentioned last episode, where like people are out and about, and a lot of the casual fans may not want to kind of tune in. So
yeah,
like the fact that there's no like long-term planning and this kind of thinking like let's market the product the right way
yeah.
from the NHL. Like I'm not surprised because they've always done this. But it's just another example of their just stupid decision making. And again, like I don't want to kind of sound like kind of like what you said, just kind of a conspiracy theorist, but it does kind of question like what they really wanted because back to back definitely favored Vegas.
Absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
but yeah, I don't know. It's just really disappointing because I firmly believe that if we had played on Saturday, we would have won.
Yeah. And to be honest, I know last episode we talked about how obviously neither of us are going to bet against the Canucks. We knew
Yeah.
that the odds were against them since the beginning of the series. But that being said, we took them to Game 7. That's still an accomplishment. But I thought that the youth factor would help us out, but I didn't take into
Yeah.
account that how broken and beaten down we would be because Vegas is a huge team. They're much bigger than us, and they gave it to us physically. Even looking at Quinn Hughes, the reports came out that he had an ankle and knee issue the first 3-4 games.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that. Okay.
yeah, and everyone was talking about how he did not look that great in the first 4 games, and now that it came out that he really started to felt like his knees and his ankle was healing a lot better after the
Mm,
fourth game. That's why he's able to skate more and set up those plays. So it's just one of those things, man. Like you know, when I know he took a bunch of big hits by Reeves too, and he was just getting beat up the entire series. But
yeah.
over time, like your fifth game in 7 nights and being forced to do that, even after you mentioned last episode that Aquilini and Benning, they were fighting to get the day extended like another day, right?
Yeah.
They're fighting to get to the Saturday for the game, but the NHL just denied it, and I just think like why? What was the point? Like I don't know. I just feel like they really messed over the Canucks. But that being said, man, we had chances to win that game. We
We
definitely
did,
had chances.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
like that's the thing that probably hurts the most because like when you kind of like move past the whole back-to-back situation and kind of look at the
yeah,
game as a whole, like I think two chances really kind of stand out to me was one, like what you had mentioned, the Brock Besser 2-on-1 with Bo, just
yeah,
basically shot out of his glove. I mean, it was a great save by Leonard, so like full
yeah,
credit to him. But he just kind of shot into his glove.
yeah,
And then the 5-minute power play, which just put up one shot.
yeah. That was just like they couldn't get anything going, and it
Yeah.
became so stagnant. And even in the top six, right? Like I don't know what it is. You looking players like Pearson. Pearson didn't really, even though he had 50 points this season, he didn't bring it, man. Like I didn't see him as a top six on our team anymore after this postseason. And
Yeah.
that's one thing that really stuck out to me because when you have your top six, you want players firing at the net, going hard. I know they tried to put Vertanen up there. I know they tried to put a few other players up there too. But what were your kind of thoughts on just Pearson's overall playoff series, especially in Vegas, against Vegas? Sorry.
I think overall, I think you kind of have to factor in the St. Louis series and the
Yeah.
Minnesota series. And I thought those two series, he definitely played well.
Yeah.
I said especially against St. Louis, he was skating, making plays, had a few goals and assists. So, like he definitely put up points in that series. And I think we were both pretty happy with his game
Yeah.
coming out of that series. But against Vegas, man, like, I don't know what happened. Like, maybe he was hurt. Like, I didn't hear anything. I don't know if you heard anything about his injury status.
Nothing at all. No.
Yeah, well, maybe they should have just made something up just to kind of explain his game. But yeah, his game as a whole, I like when you factor in the other series, I would say it was okay. But when you look at the Vegas series, it
Yeah.
wasn't good, and he just, I don't know, it just
Yeah.
wasn't really doing anything, wasn't really making plays, wasn't skating as well. A lot of the games, like he could barely make a pass,
Yeah.
so it was frustrating to see someone in the top six that was getting all those minutes not contributing.
No, I agree. It was pissing me off a lot. And to be honest, he's not the only player that I was pretty upset with on the Canucks. That being said, I mean we've already talked about Vertanen in depth, right?
Yeah.
I feel like if someone like McEwen coming in fresh, you know what? Yeah, I know this game seven is a lot on the line, but if we know if the dressing room knows, okay, we are banged up, we have no energy, we're trying
Mm,
to force it out, right? Maybe give someone a shot, right?
that's the thing that,
Um,
like, yeah, like, because obviously, like, we both were pretty confident going into game seven, and we both thought that with them being the younger team, that they would have kind of the fresher legs and whatnot, but clearly they didn't. But, like, I do wonder, like, if Green had, like, a pulse of the team and he noticed that these guys just were, you know, just looking really tired or
mm,
whatever, right? Like, why not start a couple of your black aces that were
no,
sitting
absolutely.
right and just kind of like ready to go, just to kind of freshen up the lineup a little bit. I don't know.
No, I agree. And to be honest, like I feel like that loss took a lot of energy away from just like, obviously the city and everything, but even myself, right? Like
Yeah,
the
same.
energy levels just haven't been the same since that Friday, right?
Yeah.
But another thing I want to mention is this. As you were kind of mentioning about the pulse of the team and knowing, who to put in, game four, Markey is going through extensive therapy and rehab to get him just in the game, right? And
Yeah.
four of those five goals that slipped in were just literally bad reaction goals that just got slipped through, like small holes. Just they went right through them, right? There were goals that we saw Bennington let in the last series.
Yeah.
So would you not think that it would have been better to put? Obviously, hindsight's 2020. Demko played
Hmm.
amazing, right? But if Demko played in Game Four, there's a good chance we might have won this series in Game Six.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
that's the thing that's so frustrating. And um, I never actually saw that, so I'm just kind of taking what you're saying as face value. But
yeah.
if
I'm making
if
it all up, by the way. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah,
if that is the case and he was, like doing everything he could just to play in game four, why not
yeah,
just give him that rest?
yeah,
And play your backup who, granted, he didn't have the best season, but he was starting to play well in the last, I would say, 2-3 games before the season got canceled. So why
yeah,
not just throw him in there? Like, I don't know, like it's frustrating to see because, like, if you think back to game four, we were 20 minutes away from winning that game. And
yeah,
then if you look into game five and six, like we should have won this like series, right? Like
yeah,
it was unfortunate that the third period went the way that it did, but if we had started Demko, like you said, we probably could have just won three straight and not
yeah.
have taken it to game seven. So if Green knew and saw that Markstrom was struggling just to play in game four, I don't know why he didn't just let him take that rest. Like maybe that's like inexperience on his part, or maybe Markstrom misled him and was just, saying everything he could just to get into the game. We don't know for a fact.
That's
Um,
true. There's a lot of variables.
yeah, because I know like Markstrom is a pretty competitive player, and like I'm sure he really wanted to get in there. So maybe he was just kind of playing it off like, yeah, I'm just like this is just my normal prep or whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, but that's a good point that you bring up though. Like if they saw that he was struggling just to get into the game, why not just go to Demko then? So yeah,
No,
I don't
yeah.
know. like it's unfortunate when you lose a series because there's a lot of like what if
Hmm.
moments that kind of come up, and you kind of go back and think about and just think like, oh man, like, that could have really changed the series and we could have still been playing. But
Absolutely. The
yeah,
what
I
ifs
don't
are
know.
killing me right now, you know.
Yeah,
And it just every day I've been thinking like, what if this, what if that, right? But end of the day, I am grateful for the run that took place. You know, the Canucks were technically not even supposed to be in this position to get to the quarterfinals, right?
yeah.
And to be the final, what, like in the final eight, that's still amazing, you know.
So,
And
so like, just a quick question for you, like,
yeah,
what or like, where would you have wanted them to see for you to classify the season as a success? Like, if they had just made the playoffs, or if they just beat Minnesota and made the playoffs and lost to St. Louis, would you have deemed the season a success?
absolutely. Because the thing is, you're
Hmm.
losing to the Stanley Cup defending champs, right?
Yeah,
I mean, if we like, here's the thing, like if we lost to someone like, I mean, it's the playoffs. Anything can happen, right? I'm
yeah.
trying to think of like one of the lesser, like say we lost to Chicago, right?
In
Um,
the play-in round, you mean?
yeah, like
Yeah,
say somehow we matched up against Chicago or even against Minnesota.
yeah,
I would be kind of I'd be happy the fact that we got to that point, right? But
yeah,
I would know that I would feel like the team actually had to do a little bit better, and I'd be like,
yeah,
it's a success that they got to the playoffs. That was the goal. In the playoffs, anything can happen in the NHL, right? Like you can have an 8 seed go and win the cup, right?
yeah.
But the thing is, if we were gonna lose to a team that generally everyone thought that we were going to do well against, and if it was a complete blowout and we just kind of like, you know, like lost 3 in a row or 4 in a row and just got destroyed, right? I think that would be considered a bit of a failure. But I think what we accomplished and what the Canucks were able to do this postseason, not only win 3 straight in the qualifying round, but take San Jose to what 6 games and beat them, right? And
St.
then take
Louis. Yeah,
Vegas, sorry, St. Louis,
yeah,
and then take Vegas, who are considered the Stanley Cup favorites, at least in the West, right?
yeah,
To 7 games after they were up 3-1. I think that's a great success. I think that's
yeah.
amazing, and that shows so much heart, determination, and fight. But that being said, 2 things I noticed in the Stanley Cup run. All right. Um, the first thing I noticed in the playoffs was that this team evolved, right? I felt like the team that played against Winnipeg in the one preseason game that we had,
Yeah.
the team that played the qualifying round against the Wild and the first round against St. Louis, when they were playing against Vegas, you could literally tell every series. Not only did they get better, they became a little more motivated. But in the Vegas series, midway through that series, they stepped it up. Right? Yeah, they got dominated in play and everything else, but the fight was there. That's something
Yeah.
that we've argued a lot when it comes to the Vancouver Canucks teams. There just is no fight. You know, like the
Yeah.
dog's not really like there. You know, like they just fold and get beat up physically and then mentally, and then they just get pushed to the corners and whatnot, right? But that's one thing I really noticed. The second thing I noticed is this: we have players on our team that are willing to fight till the very end. And it was a huge drastic change from the past where you could see a lot of the players folding early. Also, though, I've noticed players that I think we definitely need to move on from that just are not good
Mm.
enough, and they need to kind of be maybe shifted out or maybe put in a different role. But I think we have players around us that kind of have that Mamba mentality and that can really, really push us to do greatness in the future. And like I said, I know a lot of fans are really upset, but I think one thing we got to look at is how well the team did overall. And we just got to just be grateful for what they accomplished because this was something that no one really expected, and really good for them. The best player is only 21. Quinn Hughes is only like what 2019, right? They're kids still, they're babies still. They have so much more to grow.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I do agree. Like for me, I think what I would have deemed this playoff kind of
Mm-hmm.
format or whatever you want to kind of call it a success is if they had made the playoffs. So they needed to beat Minnesota and make the playoffs in order for me to kind of feel like this season was a success. The reason being is that I really wanted this young core to get a
Mm-hmm.
taste of the playoffs, right? And just kind of know what it
Absolutely.
takes to go up and like win series. And I didn't expect them to beat St. Louis. I
Yeah.
thought it was a good matchup. I liked that matchup more than I liked us going up against Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Because Dallas has always had our number for whatever reason, and St.
Yeah.
Louis, we've always just played well against them. So
Yeah.
I knew that it would be a tough series, but I wasn't sure because this was their first kind of taste of playoff hockey, and for
Yeah.
me, they just blew me away with the fight that they had in that series, and just even though they were up 2-0 and then they was tied 2-2, they were
Mm-hmm.
they just never seemed phased by any of it. So for me, it was just like every game that they got was a bonus because I just wanted these guys to keep getting playoff experience and build on this, right? And then the
Yeah.
series against Vegas, like I think everyone was picking Vegas to win that series. But like you said, like what they can take away from that series is something that I hope they can build on for years. And like 2-3 years down the road, I'm very hopeful that we can like look back to this series and be like, you know what, yeah, we lost, but we gained a lot from that series.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah,
And just going, looking at the post-game interviews and, like the season-ending interviews, you could tell that even Bohorvat said, he's like, we're going to be back next year. They seem
yeah,
hungry. They
hmm
got to taste, like, bitter sweetness, or like they got to taste defeat, right?
yeah,
And they're in a position now where they are getting more hungrier. They're remembering now, like, okay, remember this feeling so that we can take it on next year and try to
yeah.
overcome this, right? So hopefully they can overcome what I mean, I don't know if they're going to make it back to the second round next year, but man, I don't know. I'm hoping the
So,
team gets better. Yeah.
what do you think needs to happen in order for this team to kind of build from this playoff season and not become what like Edmonton became, where they won one series and kind of pushed Anaheim to the brink of the second series, and like that year they were all like very happy and like, oh, this is a young core, we can build on this, and they haven't made the playoffs since, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus like a young Chicago Blackhawks team where yeah, they got eliminated by like Detroit and like other bigger teams, but they were able to build on it, and then like next year they came on even harder, and then the following season they won the cup, So
Yeah.
like there's a big distinction between like a young core making the playoffs and deeming that you're a success, but then the following year kind of falling on those, like, oh yeah, we did great last year, and not motivating themselves to kind of push further and kind of build upon it.
Yeah.
um, like, what do you think needs to happen in order for the Canucks to learn from it and do better next year as opposed to taking a step backwards?
To be honest, I think even just looking at those two teams are so drastically different when it came to the overall, like
Construction of the team.
yeah, because okay,
Yeah.
like look at Chicago. When Chicago was knocked out, they made some changes, right? But also when they came back at it, look at their defense. They had
Mm.
Seabrook, right? They had Bufflin. They
Keith.
had Keith, right? The
Yeah.
goaltending was killing it too, right? They
Yeah.
legitimately had three defensemen that could be a 1-2 pairing, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then
although
you did,
although I think Bufflin in that year, or when they were winning cups, I think he was playing forward, but I know what you mean though. I think
yeah,
like they had a young core of defensemen is what
yeah,
you're trying to say. Yeah.
they're young core defensemen that were just amazing, right?
Yeah.
And then also you look at their goaltending was stellar. Their goaltending was so good. And then if you look at just the size and the skill level that they had in the team, like Taves and Kane, and then they had also Patrick Sharp, I believe, right?
Yeah.
All these different players, they were in their prime and they were hitting it, right? If you look at Edmonton now, man, they're top heavy and then that's it. Their defense sucks and their goaltending is so questionable,
Yeah.
right? And if you look at their bottom six, you can have a lot of questions there too, a lot of question marks.
That's
So
a great
going
point.
back to your question, how do I think the Canucks can adapt from this? I already think the Canucks defense, as questionable as it is, I think it's already better than Edmonton's defense. Our
Yeah.
goaltending is without a doubt better, without a doubt,
Yeah.
right? So in the back half of the team, the defense and goaltending, we are already at a more of a place where we can build off of moving
Yeah.
forward, right? That being said, I know we're hitting some cap issues possibly, and anything can really happen, and we're not really sure if we can re-sign certain players. But the biggest question for me right now, lies in our top six, right? And sorry, our top six and our bottom six, and what we're gonna do to kind of balance that out and make that better, right?
Yeah.
But that being said, I have some questions that I've asked on Instagram and on Twitter that are kind of relating to what we're about to talk about now. Do you want me to just get into them now, or?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so on Instagram and Twitter, I asked, like send in some of your questions about, what we would feel or what you guys want to see, or just any comments, or what's gonna happen next with the team, right? And so the first one is by someone by the name of Harman_Badesha, right? And he said, this is from Instagram. He's like, where do the Canucks go from here? Do they trade pieces to win now, or ride the kids and let them grow? So this is kind of touching on based on like the question you asked, but what are your thoughts around that question?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think that revolves a lot around their cap issues.
Yeah.
For me, when you have Pedersen and Quinn Hughes at such a low contract, you have to take advantage of this time. Like I think that's one of the biggest regrets that Edmonton has, is that they never took advantage of those 3 years where they had McDavid for so cheap.
Yeah.
Right? They were basically paying like $1 million and they did nothing those years, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think they need to I think they need to make their decisions in order to win now, but they can't sell the future, if that makes any sense. Like
Yeah.
they have to make deals to improve this team,
Yeah.
but they can't make stupid deals that mortgages their future, because the problem that they're going to have in like 3-4 years is when like Pedersen and Hughes are making a lot of money, and like eating up a lot of their cap space. They need those young players to come in that have a very low cap hit, that are able to contribute, So I think they need to keep building. Like there's no way that they can just not do anything and just let the young kids keep playing and kind of growing, because then like Pedersen and Hughes will be like making 10 million a year, or like something really high like that. So, then they can't do anything, and right.
But do
So
you, okay, sorry, I
yeah.
just took like cutting quickly while you're on that thought. Do you think we have a chance of maybe getting Pedersen on more of like a Crosby level type deal, a little bit more like team friendly deal?
Oh man, I don't know. It depends on his makeup and his agent. Like Crosby, when he signed, I mean, it was pretty high at the time, but it was somewhat team friendly. I
But it's still
wouldn't
lower than projection,
yeah, like I wouldn't classify like Matthews and Marner's deal to be team friendly.
Yeah, not at
I
all.
think if he signs for under 10,
Yeah.
that would be team friendly.
Okay.
As crazy as that sounds. But do
No,
I
I
think he'll
would.
do that? I don't know. I can see it, but I honestly have no idea.
No,
What do you
and I
think?
agree. Well, going back to like this question by Harman_Bradesha, yeah, I mean, I think we definitely need to make some changes,
Yeah.
especially to our bottom six, right? As much as I like Gaudette, he is not a third line center in comparison to like Stevenson, Alex Tuck, right? Those type of players that we're going against, Gaudette just he was getting destroyed out there at times,
Yeah.
And I know he's really young. I know he's a Hobie Baker winner, and he was like very highly touted, especially when he did come in. But we need someone better for our third pairing center. We really do. And I don't know if that means you put Cadet on the wing, or you put him down the fourth line and you get rid of Sutter and you keep Beagle kind of as like an insurance, right? But the thing is, I don't even know who's available out there right now. That would be a third line center that
Hmm.
we can even trade for. But we need to change our third line center. We need a better center. That being said, I think the bottom six in general, we need bigger players. We
Yeah.
Ferland was hurt. Ferland was hurt. We needed someone to bring it, and we had nobody to bring that type of action to our team. I think that's a huge area of improvement that we need. When it comes to the other part of this question, when he says or ride the kids. Yeah, I mean, I think the kids like obviously you got PD, you got Hughes, right, and even Besser. I think they're only going to get better, especially with Horvat leading the way because he's quite the young captain too. He's only like what 25 or 26.
Yeah.
That
25.
being
Yeah.
said, I think that being said, they need better pieces around him. And Pearson, I'm sorry, but Pearson's not a top 6 forward, and unfortunately, I think we're at a place where we can improve and we can use him as a selling piece and say, look, we got 50 points. We might be able to trade him to get something a little bit better or package him in with a deal to get rid of some money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's kind of where I am with that. Those are two areas I think we really drastically need to change. Our defense definitely needs work,
Yeah, but
yeah.
yeah, for me, like the number one area, I do agree. I think it's the bottom six. In
Mhm.
terms of their top six, I think it all depends on if we can sign Toffoli. If we can sign
That's
him,
huge. Yeah.
that kind of shores up our top six because then you can kind
Yeah.
of interchange Pearson and Josh Leivo. Because I thought Josh Leivo, up until his injury, he was having a pretty good season, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I kind of feel like kind of having those two places on the wing with Bo,
Yeah.
kind of I think is a good compliment. Like I do agree. I don't think Pearson is a legitimate top six, but I think paying for someone that replaces his spot would be pretty expensive.
Hmm.
And I feel like money can be better spent in other areas. So I would be okay if they went with Pearson and Levo in that spot. But
Yeah.
I definitely agree. The bottom six needs improvement. And then in terms of the defense, for me, I think the top four are okay. I think the bottom three pairing, I think that needs a little bit more improvement. And one that you can kind of dole out game after game and be confident in what they'll be able to give you. I don't think Ben and Fattenberg on a game-to-game basis um, were that beneficial for the way that I think Green wants to play. I think Green wants to play like a fast-moving, puck-moving game, and they're a little bit more of the grinding type defenseman. So I think if we can get maybe one more puck mover, and maybe
Yeah.
that's Brogan Rafferty, I don't know, right? Because I'm sure he'll get a look next year.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, I would agree.
yeah,
And sorry to cut you off, but like Rafferty, he won AHL Defenseman of the Year last year, didn't he?
yeah,
I mean, like that's not a small thing to accomplish. So I think we definitely need to give him a shot. And to be honest, the one game that I saw Levy play, he looks so smart. He looks so poised. Like you can tell his IQ is just on par with
yeah.
like Petey and Hughes when it comes to just like his puck handling. I don't know about his skating. I don't know about if he's gonna be healthy enough. We've only seen him in one game ever, and that was a playoff game. But
Hmm.
that being said, I think he's someone that we definitely need to give a shot.
Yeah.
But as we talk about what the Canucks need, right? That's literally the next question by Mukesh Yoshi from Instagram. He says, if there's one thing the Canucks would need, what is the absolute thing that the Canucks need right now? What would your answer be?
Uh, I think they need. Oh man, that's a good question. What do they absolutely need right now?
Yeah.
I mean, they got to solve their cap issues.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be their most pressing issue in the offseason. I saw a
Mhm.
report from Farhan that said that a lot of people internally feel like they can move either Sutter's contract or Ericsson's current contract.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if they can do one of the two.
Yeah.
But
That would be amazing.
yeah, so I think for me, it's just kind of figuring out the cap issues and then being able to kind of retain like Tanev to Foley, and then figuring out what they're gonna do with Markstrom.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's huge when it comes to like the future of the team and just managing the money aspect of it.
Yeah,
I know everyone's kind of scared about that right now. I agree with you entirely. That is probably one of the most pressing fears I think for a lot of Canucks fans.
yeah,
Another thing I would say that the Canucks absolutely need right now, I think they in their bottom six, at least their third line center, we need a big, skilled third line center. That can hit, that can bring what Stevenson did, do what Alex Tuck did, right? Um,
yeah. But
like
those players don't come cheap though, man. Like that's the only thing. Like I think it's a great
yeah,
want, but like how do we do that without giving up a big asset?
no, I agree, and even just looking at the UFA market right now,
Like would you give up like a Hoglander or something like
no,
that for a big, fast moving third line center? No, right? I
wouldn't.
wouldn't.
No.
Yeah.
Not Hogland. I mean, if it was Lind, maybe, you know.
Yeah.
Like it depends who we're getting back, right? I'm looking at the UFA centers right now. I mean, obviously you have Ryan Nugent Hopkins. He's going to be demanding way too much. Mikhail Granlund on Nashville. Apparently, he might be looking to leave Nashville, right?
Yeah.
Mikko Koivu, he's gone up there in age right now, but
I know.
yeah, he's like 37. Alex Galchenyuk, he's 26. He's 6'1", 207. He plays a little hard. He's only,
He's not bad. Like I thought
yeah.
he played pretty well for Minnesota. He's a big body. He can score. He hit
Mhm.
30 goals a couple seasons or maybe one season, I can't remember. He's not a
Yeah.
bad player, but it just depends on the price.
Absolutely. You got Carl Soderberg from Arizona. I mean, he's
Okay.
he's older, right?
Yeah.
He put up 17 goals last year as a third liner. He made 4.75 last year, so
How
he
much
likes to go
did
too high.
Galchenyuk make, Nick?
Galchenyuk made 4.9, and
Oof,
he
he's gonna
had
want to raise on that.
yeah, but he only had 8 goals and 16 assists in 59 regular season games, right?
Yeah.
He's 6'1", 207 pounds, but he's only 26, right? So if with the
Yeah.
right team, with the right players, he could be a little better. One person I would love to get, which I don't know how we can get it, but Eric Holla. He's 29. He had 48 games played, 12 goals, 12 assists, right? He's young enough. I think we could take a risk on him. He's only 2.7. 5. If we can get him for 3.1, 3.2, 3.5, I think he's someone that I wouldn't
Yeah, that's
mind.
not bad.
Unless we go, balls to the wall, get Joe Thornton. he's only 41 years old, but we'll see how that goes.
He can barely
But
skate.
yeah, no, seriously. But anyways, moving on. Next question by Avninder, so AV9DER. He said, talk about the lack of shots all series against Vegas Knights. They looked tired out there, couldn't get much going, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, we talked about it a little bit. They looked exhausted, right?
Yeah.
I just think that at the end of the day, no matter how we look at it, Vegas was just in a different tier when it came to skill level and all around just being better than the Canucks. Their puck possession, transition, their how they're coached, their way they defend, the way they hit their forecheck, all those areas are just so much better than the Canucks. And it feels like Canucks are just learning now how to do those
Yeah.
things. I think that's the reason why whenever we had the puck, Vegas didn't really have a lot of trouble getting the puck back and then taking to our zone and then getting shot off. Especially our neutral zone play for the first 3-4 games was like non-existent in defending them, right? So I just think that overall we were facing like a juggernaut of a team. It was literally David versus Goliath, but in this situation, Goliath just edged us out, right?
Yeah.
That's why I think the team wasn't able to put the shots up that we would expect and that what we've seen in other games. And also the whole tired factor. 5 games in 7 nights, and also like the other 2 series went pretty
Yeah.
far as well, right? So what were your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the biggest thing was the neutral zone play. Eh, Vegas does a great job, and I kind of noticed this while I was watching the game one against Dallas in Vegas.
Yeah.
Vegas does a great job of making the defense and the forwards push the puck up against the board, and their forwards are able to then retrieve the puck and pass it back to their defense, and they start another outbreak. So what I saw Dallas change up is instead of trying to pass the puck up the boards, they were forcing the puck in the middle.
Yeah.
And by doing that, they were able to skate in and make the Vegas defense defend as opposed to continually attack like what they were doing against Canucks. So I thought that game change or that game plan was a great one by the Dallas coach. And it was something that Canucks just weren't able to do. And I think that's kind of why you saw Vegas coming in attack after attack, is that they were just able to get the puck right back from Canucks so quickly and then just come in. And like they love to shoot from everywhere. And I think we kind of like noticed that in games like yeah, they're shooting a lot, but it's mostly from the outside and it didn't really feel threatening as much. But that's just like they're just a puck possession team and they just play really well to that, like to their strengths. And yeah, like there just wasn't much Canucks can do, unfortunately.
I agree. And to be honest, like you said, they feasted on our undisciplined play, right?
Yeah.
When every time a passes didn't meet, or we were lazy, or we had a penalty, right?
Hmm.
Vegas was trying to feast on us, and you could tell they were wearing us down. So I
Yeah.
agree on all those points. Moving on to the next question by Stevie G. He asks, from the UFAs coming up in the upcoming season, who are some players you think the Canucks will bring back, right? So I'm looking at the list right now. The main players that I feel like, not including the AHLers and whatnot,
Yeah.
the main players we got Toffoli, Tanev, Markey, Stetcher, Lievo, Gadet. Then you have Jake Virtanen, Zach McEwen, and Tyler Mott. And then there's Fantenberg, and then everyone else is kind of just like, people that if we lose them, they won't really know us too much, right?
Yeah.
From those players, who are some absolute must that you think you have to bring back?
I think Toffoli is a must, and I think a lot of people might question that given
Yeah,
how he played in the playoffs, but
yeah.
he was hurt, right? Like he was not the player that
Oh
he
yeah,
is. I think we saw how he can play in this lineup in the regular season when he put
hmm
up, I think it was like 11 points in like 9 games or 8 games.
yeah,
He just complements and really shores up our top six so well that I
yeah,
think losing him would really hurt the Canucks and kind
yeah,
of um, make us kind of go searching for another player to kind of fill his void. And I think losing him and the fact that we had to give up Madden for him would really
yeah.
hurt. So because of that, I feel like they need to somehow find a way to resign Toffoli. And I hope that's not um, the management's way of then trading Besser because I feel like we can keep both players because we need both of them. Um, but
Absolutely.
that's like my number one pick. I feel like Tanev is a player that like, yeah, he's great and I really like him, but I think we can replace his minutes. Toffoli is a tough one to replace without giving up more assets to get a player like that.
Well said. I would agree. I think on this list, but here's the thing. There's another part of this question I want to ask, but it's literally a question that someone else asked, so I'll get to that in a bit. I think Foley you have to bring back. Like, considering what we gave up for him, not only that, losing him, it will sting, but at the same time, like you said, he was playing injured, man. Like, his skating was not the same. He messed up
Yeah,
his foot pretty bad. Like, he was out for a while. And then when he came back, immediately you felt the impact, right?
yeah.
Immediately. That being said, I do not see uh, and a way where Toffoli leaves and he we're happy about it, right? Like it's gonna suck. Right now he's making 4.6. What number do you think it would take to bring him back?
Oh man, I think it's gonna be close to 7.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I'm hoping it's not that high
Yeah.
because that's a really high price to pay
Yeah.
him, especially the fact that we still have to sign a Pedersen. He was like those contracts are gonna be massive.
Yeah.
But I think so. What he makes just a share like a shade under 5 mil. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
4.6, yeah.
yeah, 4.6. So yeah, like I don't see him signing for less than I would say maybe 6.5, maybe.
Yeah, I think you know what? If I can get around 6, if I can wrap my head around 6.5, I could
Six
see
six
that
point five
happen.
is something I can live with for
Yeah,
sure.
that's something I can live with for sure as well.
How
And like
many
I
years
said,
though?
I say, well, he's third. How old is he now? He is 28. I say 4 years.
Yeah,
I think 4 years would lock him down. 3 years might be too small for him. And I
yeah,
don't think anyone's gonna in the open market is gonna offer him more than, obviously he's gonna ask for 7, obviously, right? He's
yeah,
UFA. But I don't think anyone's gonna give him more than 6.2, 6.5. And I think if that's the chance, then Canucks we have a really good chance of keeping him if he wants to stay with us and doesn't want to go back to Cali, you know?
yeah,
Um, Looking at other people on this list, going back to Stevie's question, Stetcher, if we're gonna lose Tanev, like it would suck to lose him, but like you said, I think there are players out there, especially in this playoff series that we saw, there are players out there that can take his place. And
yeah,
Stetcher is someone who I felt really grew this playoff series. I think there's times in the past when I really was not happy the way he kind of battled or the way he kind of, stupid mistakes, the puck bouncing off him, just bad positioning or getting outworked, right? But I think this playoff series, he had that dog inside him. Like he really fought, right? And I think that's someone we can bring back cheap too, like even 3 million. His qualifying would be like 3.1, 3.2, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's someone we could bring back. But the size thing is a bit issue for me. Besides that, I mean, Josh Lievo, like we don't even know what we have, man. The guy played 36 games. He had 7 goals, 12 assists. He was doing so well. If we had him on the third line, I think we were doing much better. But
Yeah.
his recovery, he got hurt December 19th, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
or 29th or something like that. But his recovery time was supposed to be 2 to 3 months with a fractured
I
kneecap.
know.
It's been 9 months, man. Like this guy's not even pregnant. Like this is bad. So this is a serious injury, and I don't know if he's ever gonna come back. Right? Adam
Yeah.
Gaudette, yeah, he's making he's making literally
But
yeah,
having said that, though, I think Levo would come cheap because of that, because of his injuries scare. I think a lot of teams would be a bit reluctant to offer him a big dollar
yeah.
contract. So I feel like we might be able to sign him for cheap. But I would only sign him for like a 1 year contract because I don't know what he has left and if he has anything left.
Exactly. No, I think no, you're right. Like if he comes back and he's not even the same player, or worse, right? The chance of him being a better player after 9 months and he's still not healed,
Yeah.
the new season's gonna start in 3 months. If he's not healed yet, this is bad news, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, moving on from him, Adam Gaudette, I think we bring back cheap. He's only making 916 right now. So I think he's gonna get like just a slight raise, maybe
Yeah.
like a 1 million, 1.5. Jake Virtanen, this is someone that I don't know, right? Like, yeah, he had 20 goals, including the off season or including the playoffs, right? 18 goals before the postseason started. He's making 1.25. Do you think he gets a raise at all, or no?
He does. I mean, like I think most of these players usually end up getting a bit of a raise, especially when you're coming off a 20 goal campaign. He's definitely going
Yeah.
to get a raise. So he's a RFA though, right?
Yeah. Sorry, he's an
Yeah.
RFA. Yeah.
But so I think he does get a raise. I don't think it's a crazy raise, but I think he does get one. But I think he's someone that I would sign for like a decent deal,
Yeah.
with like low years. And like honestly, I'd probably just try and flip him. I think he
Yeah.
would have more value if we sign him to a contract and then flip him as opposed to just flipping him as an RFA.
Mm-hmm.
All right, because there's a little bit more cost certainty attached to a player like that.
Yeah.
But
No, I agree.
I think he's someone that I think we've given him lots of chances, and I think it's time to just move on from him.
I agree. I think a lot of people are just kind of done with Jake now, and
Yeah.
especially in the playoffs, we wanted more and we never got that elevation as the team was evolving. And to be honest, as much as we like shit on some other players too, people played well. Like Sutter played pretty well in the playoffs. He actually did.
Yeah.
I think his trade value went up, and I was happy to see that because I don't want to keep him next year, but I can totally see him leaving
Yeah.
or being traded.
Yeah.
But that being said, Jake Virtanen is someone that I felt like like goals that he scored, they were kind of fluky, and his rush chances and everything. Like, I don't think he really brought what we want him to bring, right?
Mm-hmm.
And especially when you have someone like Zach McEwen that technically did, when he came back, when the play restarted, Zach McEwen really did make the lineup before Jake, right? I think Zach's someone that we didn't really give too much of a chance to for. He's an RFA as well, actually, but I can see us bringing him back pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Another RFA that's very, very intriguing, though, would be Tyler Mott. He made 975 last year, or the year that just ended, and
He's getting a big raise.
he's gonna. I think I could see him in the 2 to 3 range, because he is so useful. Do you see him getting more than that, or?
No, I think that's a fair range, but I would try and lock him down for a few years if we can.
Yeah, he brings it, and yeah.
Yeah. I think he's a player that we can definitely build on. He's young, he's fast. He had a lot of intangibles that I think really kind of came out during these playoff runs. So I think he's someone that I want to keep going forward.
True. Two players on this list that are RFAs that kind of intrigue me that I wish we gave more of a shot for. The first one, Justin Bailey. This guy's fast and he's got hand. He's very, very fast. I don't think we gave him a shot though because I think Travis was worried about the defensive side of the game.
Yeah.
But I think this guy, man, he is crazy fast and he can shoot and he can dangle. So this is a kid that he's 25 now. He's been up and down from the A. I don't know if he's gonna come back because he might not get a shot with the Canucks.
Yeah.
But I think he's someone that I really feel like I would like to give him a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And the other person is someone that I mentioned in the past that I think Travis Green really likes in the bottom six role that I feel like would be very beneficial for us and very cheap. Tyler Grovak, only because he's physical, he can put up some shots. He's got a really good release. He actually has a really nice release. He's only 27. In 8 games played, he had 2 goals, and then that's it, right? Like he got injured. But I think he was building some good chemistry in the bottom six, and he's someone that can hit the body hard, like really hard. So that's someone I would like to bring back on a cheap deal. But that being said, these are all depth players. The main people is, for me, Tyler Toffoli and Stetcher, right? But this leads me to our last question. From this one's from Twitter, from @Gaurav Sander. He says, big question. In your opinion, do we let Markey walk and hope Demko was the real deal? Or do we keep Markey? Because right now, he's on this list in front of me. Jacob Markstrom is probably one of the most important UFAs, the Canucks have right now.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Do you sign him or do you go?
I think this is probably the biggest question going into the offseason for Canucks. And I think a lot of how they handle this question, I think, sets up everything else that we've talked about. So I think this is a great way to kind of end this episode and kind of discuss this because what they do here will have such a massive impact for years to come. So, and I'm still kind of on the fence on it. I'm kind of leaning towards, and I can't believe I'm going to say this after his year, but letting Markstrom walk and keeping Demko. The only reason why I feel this way is because, okay, if you're Markstrom, so let's just say you're Markstrom.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself signing for less than 3 years when this is your chance to really make it big, right? You've had a Vezina season.
Yeah.
So you're probably going to try and assign a long-term contract, right?
Yeah. You got to cash in. You need stability, security.
So he's going to want at least 6 years, 5 to 6 year type of deal.
Yeah.
And if you're the Canucks, he's already 30, right? Yeah. He's already had a few injury scares. We already kind of saw his injury history kind of come up during the playoffs, right? He is a little bit injury prone, and I hate to say that because I don't want to use that against him, but he is. So when you factor that all in, I think it's hard committing to someone that's already 30, that much money and that much term.
Yeah.
But then the other wrinkle that is now in play is the Seattle expansion, right? Yeah. And we can only keep one goalie.
Yeah.
Right. So if you sign Markstrom to a long-term contract and you still keep Demko as a cheap backup, you're either going to lose Demko for nothing, or you are going to be forced into a trade with a team who knows that you need to trade him, so you won't really get full value for Demko, right? Yeah. So, it's hard because then on the flip side, you're kind of like, okay, well, let's keep Demko and let Markstrom. So if you keep Demko, you're essentially banking that he has a season based off of his 3 playoff games. And to say that he would do that is a huge gamble, right? So there is, I feel, no right answer, but I think the most logical answer is to keep Demko and use that money to fill other needs. But that's just me. What do you think?
This is hard, man. I don't know if Demko has enough of a sample size for us to really say, yeah, we're going to go with him now starting next year. He played 3 games. He played amazing, but he played against pretty much the Stanley Cup favorites for this year. But that being said, I don't know, man. It comes down to a lot of the money thing, right? Jacob Markstrom, he's going to want 6 point plus, right? At least $6 million per season and a long term. If we lock ourselves into that and he starts falling, it's going to be bad. I think what we need to do is literally go to our goalie coach and ask him.
Exactly.
Like Ian Clark, right? What do you see happening? Where do you see the most benefit is for this team, right? And to be honest, right now I am leaning towards Demko, only because, the money factor, he's much, much cheaper, right? He's not really proven, but we know the potential. We know he's got skill, and he did showcase it against Vegas. Um, I would love to go with him, and I think it would just add to the whole youth crew movement. But that being said, I don't want it to be a situation like Bennington where you're amazing and then things
Hmm.
fall out from underneath you because of lack of experience, right? Um, that's kind of where I am with that. But yeah, right now I am leaning towards Demko.
But no, but that's a great point though about Ian Clark though, because I don't want to just kind of gloss over that because that's a great point. Like he was the goalie coach in Columbus back
Yeah.
when they had oh man, what's his name? The one that went to Bobrovsky when he went to Florida. He was
Hmm.
the goalie coach in Columbus when Bobrovsky was there, and I think from what I had heard, he told management like, you know what, like if he wants a big time contract, just let him walk. Like he's like,
Yeah.
I like helped you draft two young goalies who are now playing for them now, and
Yeah.
he was like, I'm pretty confident they can step up and play well, and that's what they
Yeah.
did, right?
Yeah.
Like how many like there's not a lot of teams that you can kind of go back to and be like, okay, like after signing him to this long contract, they
Hmm.
played well,
Yeah.
right? Like or like it worked out like long term. Like there's not a lot of teams that can say that. So
No,
yeah,
I agree.
I agree. I think the smart choice would be just ride Demko and hope that he is what we saw in the past three games.
Hmm. I would agree. You know what? Before we end it off,
Hmm.
we got I got a lot of questions on Twitter and on Instagram from a lot of people. But I think I just want to touch on one last one.
Yeah,
Man of Your Brains, she sent like 4 different questions, but we did touch up on a lot of
just
them
a big fan of the pod.
already. Yeah. One of the questions was why did it take you so long to start a podcast? But the one I actually want to focus on is your thoughts on the Seattle Kraken and them coming into play. And I know you mentioned it briefly, so I'm like, you know
Mhm.
what, might as well segue that final question
Yeah,
into it. Um, it's huge, man. You know, like before we were in a position to protect a lot of players, and we didn't really have to expose that many people. Like,
yeah,
we lost Spiza, right?
Visa, yeah.
Yeah, and now we're happy with that. But with Seattle, it's gonna be hard. Like our star players, we actually gotta protect them. You know, they're no longer on like entry level contracts.
Hmm.
There's a good chance we might lose someone good. You know,
Yeah,
and like you said, the whole goaltending situation. Like, this is a really good question because you brought it up. If for some reason we do keep Markstrom just for security, you know, and to be honest, that is a logical thing to do on um, uh, Benning's part to make sure you have someone tested and proven that you could actually trade moving forward and to keep Demko, right, for the future, because he still technically is unproven, right?
yeah.
But just overall, what are your kind of thoughts and fears of the potentially losing a good player, and who do you think it could even be?
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to lose someone that we like.
Yeah. Oh,
So I think
Twitter's
from
gonna be on fire, man.
yeah, so I think how the draft rules work is that teams can protect seven forwards,
Yeah.
three defensemen, and a goalie, or they can protect eight skaters and a goalie. So basically, it's one goalie, and you can either do seven and three,
Yeah.
um, or eight skaters, and I think the eight skaters has like these different rules. But anyways, maybe we'll just focus just for like conversation's sake, just focus on seven forwards and three defensemen. So with
Yeah.
seven forwards, you're basically protecting your top six and then one player from your bottom six. So
Yeah.
the top six would be protected. That's not a problem. But then when you look at the bottom six, like if you're looking at it now, the only player that I would probably protect would be Tyler Mott, if that even
Yeah.
like makes sense. It just like it sounds crazy to think that you would protect him over Vertanen, but I think I
Yeah.
would. Um,
Yeah.
so if you protect Mott, like I can see Seattle like probably picking up Vertanen, which would make it really interesting rival with like Vertanen on their team.
Seattle.
Just kind of
Yeah.
given all
That'd
the
be.
headaches and stuff that he's given us. Like if he like
Yeah.
turns it on there, like oh man,
Oh yeah.
Twitter's just gonna lose it. But so and then with three defensemen, so you're going to lose a pretty good defenseman. Like if you protect three defensemen now, you're probably protecting who? Edler, Myers, Quinn Hughes. I think would be protected because he's on a entry level
Yeah.
contract. But let's just say if he's not, you'd protect him, right? And then so
Yeah.
you'd lose either Stetcher, Tanev, or Ben or Fattenberg, right? So like we are gonna lose someone that I think a lot of the fans like, which is gonna
Yeah.
suck. But I think as long as Benning is able to make smart decisions, like I think keeping Demko over Markstrom, which
Yeah.
again, like given the year that Markstrom had and how many games he saved us in,
Yeah.
like it would honestly suck losing him, especially for nothing.
Yeah.
And if Demko isn't ready, like if we don't have like good goaltending, we're not making playoffs, right? Like you need
I
good
agree.
goaltending, right? And but I just don't see Markstrom signing for like a 2-year contract. So yeah, man, with Seattle coming in, man, like we're gonna lose someone good, and it sucks. But hopefully Benning learns from Vegas and doesn't offer them like a draft pick to pick some other player, and just
Yeah.
let them pick a player and just move on.
No, I agree. Some of the players that you mentioned, like I just don't feel like they're worth the draft pick and the
Yeah,
potential,
no,
you know.
definitely
Um,
not. Yeah,
but like, yeah, I agree. Our top six, we gotta keep our top six. Pearson's the only question mark, right? I think by then though, Podkolzin might even come in. Hoglander
yeah,
might even come in. They might have a place on our team, and but they'll be protected due to their
yeah,
contract. Levy is someone that I'm not sure that if we'd be able to protect him or not because of
yeah.
his
That's a good question. I think he would be unprotected.
yeah, because he's already been in the system for so
Yeah,
long and signed for so long. But that being said, yeah, I mean Quinn Hughes and Myers right now are the big ones that you protect on D. Edler, he's on his last year next year, right? 6 million.
oh, that's
Um,
right. Yeah, I forgot about
yeah,
that.
and for everyone else, I mean, I really don't know, right? Like Tanev, we potentially might already lose him now, right? And
Yeah,
he's someone like you said, like if we can bring a defensive defenseman that can block that many shots, right, for less
but
money.
honestly though, like if we let Markstrom walk, I think we can resign Tanev for like a decent contract.
Yeah, but the thing is this, man, like if you're looking at the market too, there's some
Yeah,
pretty good UFAs out there that like you could really that are similar to what we're paying Tanev now potentially,
yeah,
and they wouldn't be that, like it would be considered a bit of an upgrade, you know.
yeah.
Sorry, one second, let me just load this up quickly. Like, I mean, yeah, you got Peter Angelo, he's gonna be demanding a lot, right? Justin Schultz, stuff like that. But you got like Troy Krug, right? And there's been
He's gonna
rumors
want a
that
lot.
yeah, he's making 5.25 right now. But the thing is, right now, if we sign Tanev, we're gonna be making around. He's gonna want like 5.5 anyways, you know. And Torrey
Yeah,
Krug is someone that apparently doesn't want to stay with Boston anymore, right? Um, you got TJ Brody, you got like Cody Cece. I mean, you got certain players that you feel like you could give reasonable amounts of money to that might be able to replace Tanev, but I don't know, man. Like Brendan Dillon, he's pretty good. He's only making 3.27, right?
yeah.
Um,
And
so
from what I've heard, I think he's been wanting to maybe come back home.
oh wow, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, that's episode 10, in the books. I think we'll kind of pick back up after the Canucks, after the playoffs are over, right?
Yeah.
And we'll have another episode coming out during the draft, right? So I think this
Yeah.
is it for season 1. And then season 2, we'll probably pick up at the draft.
Yep. Sounds good.
Awesome, man. Thank you. And you know what? A big shout out to everyone that's been supporting us. Like, we started this just for fun, and this grew pretty fast. We got a sponsor already. He's giving us merchandise soon that we're gonna be, giving away and kind of like, like to see whatever gets them for our shows, and we might do some live shows in Abbotsford too. But yeah, no, thank you to everyone that's been listening and tuning in. All the support. This grew much faster than any of us anticipated. We didn't really have the time to meet the demand, but we tried our best. And thank you to everyone that's been really supporting us. This has really been a fun ride, and we'll see you guys back in season 2.
All right. Thank you,
All right,
everyone.
man.
All right. Bye.
Thanks, man.